Team Fortress 2 is at a point where there are so many weapons that I truly think adding any more is just a waste of time. And if the TF team does choose to add new weapons, whenever that may be, they should at least think about rebalancing some existing weapons that are in desperate need of one. So without further ado, let's discuss some weapons that I believe would benefit the most with a rebalance. The Babyface's Blaster. At one point, my most used Scout primary has quickly turned into the least used weapon I use for Scout. Look, I get it. Pre-gunmetal, this was hands down the most infuriating thing to combat. All the player needed was a few meat shots and bam, you have turned into a full speed distraction. So needless to say, I'm in no favor of reverting the Babyface's Blaster pre-gunmetal. In fact, the weapon attributes aren't exactly the problem. The problem lies in how strict the negative attributes are. As we all know, when a scout who is using the Babyface's Blaster double jumps or takes any amount of damage, their boost meter severely takes a nosedive. You can take the tiniest amount of damage, but your boost meter will still suffer. That being said, I can understand this harsh attribute. When you're moving that fast, it's up to you to take advantage of your speed to avoid damage. And when you think about it, that seems to be how the current Babyface's Blaster is designed. Though, I can't understand the second negative attribute. Who actually thought it was a good idea to punish using your double jump when using the Babyface's Blaster? This is the equivalent of giving the soldier a new rocket launcher but removing the soldier's ability to rocket jump. Double jumping, heck even triple jumping, is a big part of playing Scout. It's even listed as a special ability. Why basically take that away? At the end of the day, I think all that should change about the Babyface's Blaster is to just make it so its negative attributes aren't as punishing. I can deal with the lower clip size, I can deal with the 10% slower movement speed, I can even understand why your boost meter gets destroyed when you're practically tickled. But come on, punishing the player for using a key part of the class is anything but okay. Oh, how much I miss you. Nerfing and buffing, it's just a normal thing to do with an unbalanced weapon. And while yes, the ullapool caper was an absolute monster when in the hands of a highly skilled player, that doesn't justify giving the weapon literally the harshest negative attributes in the entire game. Ugh, that's just disgusting to look at. Similarly to the Babyface's Blaster, I'm not suggesting to revert the ullapool caper back to its admittedly broken shape, but the weapon's attributes really do need some reworkings. I suggest tossing the 20% slower firing speed and replacing it with a 20% damage reduction, which also includes the explosion as well. Also adding the attribute to make the caper only deal mini crits while charging regardless as to what shield the player is using should balance things out pretty well. At least I think it will. I'm no expert here. Really though, if I can just say that before it was nerfed into oblivion, I think I speak for everyone when I say the caper was so much fun to use. Even if you were accomplishing next to nothing while using it, at least it was fun to use. Nowadays, I see nobody use the caper, which just goes to show how badly it was nerfed. I honestly hope Valve pulls an extinguisher here and balances the caper in a deservedly so way. Finally, we have a weapon that was recently added just in the Jungle Inferno update. Can you guess which one it is? I'm gonna go ahead and say this weapon is hilarious. But it's also hilariously bad. Listen, Valve, just because the weapon is wacky and quirky doesn't mean it deserves to be one of the worst pyro melees. On paper, it sounds okay, but it took me no longer than a couple of seconds to realize the hot hand was ripping off the disciplinary action and doing a very bad job at it. It's pretty clear that Valve wanted this to be a wacky weapon, and I'm open arms to that. I mean, look at what my favorite melee is. But the thing about all wacky weapons is that they're all viable, to a certain degree. One of the most obvious examples of this is the Market Gardener. The thing about the hot hand though is that it's not viable in any way. At the moment, it is nothing but a sad, useless meme weapon. Maybe it's because it's a newer weapon and I haven't had enough time to use it, but my opinion still stands. The hot hand deserves a rebalance while it's still a new weapon. So those were the weapons that I believe deserve to be rebalanced the most. If you have any other weapons that you think also deserves a rebalance, be sure to post them in the comments. I'd love to read what you guys think needs a rebalance too. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll hopefully see you next time.